Hi guys, welcome to ANIMEized. This is the English translated version of the novel Throneofseal. The novel differs slightly from the Chinese animation or donghua. If you want more of these videos, please smash the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. Enjoy and have a blessed day.
The increase in external spiritual power from this crystal can be as high as 100,000 spiritual power units. Of course, not everyone can withstand such immense power. Depending on one's constitution, different professions can endure intensities ranging from 2,000 to 20,000. External spiritual power is different from internal spiritual power. Humans can rarely surpass 1,000 in external spiritual power through cultivation alone. Even 9-tier experts find it challenging to exceed 10,000. This dragon crystal, however, can grant you physical defense comparable to a true dragon's. Now, do you still think that the starting bid of 8 million gold coins is expensive? Furthermore, its rarity is unparalleled, because very few can obtain it without facing retaliation. But let me assure you, this dragon crystal comes directly from a gift, and there will be no issues. As for its connection to equipment, I believe I don't need to say much. It can serve as the core for any epic equipment with various attributes. I've said quite a bit, but these are just the tip of the iceberg. When its true name is revealed, I believe you'll make your judgments accordingly. Now, Miss Financier, please make the announcement. Actually, it's not like that. Because it is truly too precious, I must introduce its most significant features to all esteemed guests. Of course, even what I've already mentioned is just the tip of the iceberg. When its true name is revealed, I believe each esteemed guest will make their own judgments. Miss Financier, would you please make the announcement? The spotlight shifted back to Financier, and she approached slowly, her right hand resting on the cold jade box. She gently opened it, and a dense wave of spiritual energy gushed out of the box. Our first auction item is the Demon God Emperor's own clan, the magic crystal of the unrivaled demon dragon. This time, there was no uproar in the entire hall. Instead, there was an eerie silence. All eyes were fixed on the fist-sized crystal, radiating a deep golden glow, and exuding an aura of overwhelming power, even destruction. As an auction house, we must maintain confidentiality for the seller. But as a woman, I must applaud them. Regardless of who it is, anyone who can bring back a demon dragon's crystal, and bring it here, is a hero to our human race. Yuan once again added fuel to the auction for this first item. In fact, even at the Holy Alliance Grand Auction, top-tier items don't appear in every VIP auction. The preciousness of this Demon Dragon Clan's magic crystal is beyond doubt. According to the auction house's estimate, it is definitely worth over 10 million gold coins, and for those who truly need it, it is priceless. Originally, they intended to save this as the grand finale, but due to Lin Xin's request, they had to auction it first. Yuan received this news only recently, yet she managed to immediately ignite the auction, showcasing her adaptability and knowledge. This is why she's the chief auctioneer at the Holy Alliance auction house. With the announcement of bidding begins, a fierce bidding war began. Moreover, almost all the participants were from the front row VIP rooms. After all, when it comes to tens of millions of gold coins, it's no longer within reach for ordinary people. Even if you have a lot of gold coins, you might not be willing to spend them. Long HaoChen's expression appeared somewhat peculiar at this moment. If it weren't for Yang's introduction, he wouldn't have known about the many benefits of this Demon Dragon Clan's crystal. It seems that the remaining 4 crystals can't be sold. Leaving that aside, let's use them to enhance everyone's external spiritual power first. It's unexpected that we would gain such benefits by chance. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but recall the time when he trained with his father in Odin Town. Didn't his father have him soak his body in herbal baths every day? Lin Xin, when you get a chance, try to buy or find a prescription that uses the Demon Dragon Clan's crystal as its core. No problem, I'm already looking for one. It shouldn't take long to get results. Lin Xin may not have as much knowledge as Long HaoChen in certain areas, but when it comes to treasures, he surpasses Long HaoChen by far. The price of the Demon Dragon Clan's crystal kept soaring, but after it exceeded 15 million gold coins, the rate of increase significantly slowed down. Bidders were adding increments of 100,000 gold coins. Obviously, while these wealthy bidders were eager to obtain this treasure, they were aware of its true value, and were not willing to pay an exorbitant amount. However, the problem was that there were too many people hoping to obtain this crystal. Almost everyone eligible to bid was participating. As a result, even with increments of 100,000, the price quickly exceeded 18 million gold coins. In fact, this figure had already exceeded the actual value of the Demon Dragon Clan's crystal. Of course, considering its rarity, this price was still reasonable. 20 million. Just at that moment, the deep voice that had bid first roared out this price. Instantly, the entire hall fell into silence. Yang's eyes lit up. Good, VIP number 3 bids 20 million gold coins. At this price, even Yang can't judge if it's worth it. But I believe that for anything, as long as you like it, it becomes priceless. If there are no other bidders, this treasure will belong to VIP number 3. Surprisingly, this time she didn't try to stir the emotions of the bidders, but instead, she promptly said, 20 million once. This was the cleverness of Yuan. This was the largest auction house of the Holy Alliance, and if it solely focused on profits, how could it maintain a continuously high total bidding price? The VIPs had to be taken care of, especially those in the private rooms. Seeing that the price had reached its limit, she didn't waste any more time. 20 million twice, 20 million for the third time, sold. In the moment the hammer fell, it also meant that the demon crystal of the heaven-defying demon dragon clan was auctioned off at a high price of 20 million. This price had already exceeded Long HaoChen's expectations, but Lin Xin shook his head. Han Yu asked in confusion. Brother Medicinal Pills, aren't you satisfied with this price? Lin Xin sighed and said, time is too tight. If we had decided to auction this demon crystal a week earlier, I could have planned and promoted it, and as the grand finale item, it might have fetched an even higher price. Wang Yuan said. It's close enough. People always want more than they have. Shima Xian remained silent, but his eyes were fixed eagerly on Feng Ling on the stage until she pushed the golden card off the stage and disappeared. After a thrilling climax, the auction continued. And the true first item was once again brought to the auction stage. Spiritual Melody Snow Lotus, high-grade herb, 500 years old, starting bid, 200,000 gold coins. Perhaps because the previous auctions had drained a lot of energy, Yue Ying's voice sounded a bit more lazy and concise. 210,000 gold coins. Lin Xin raised his bidder's card without hesitation. He had always made the decisions regarding the purchase of medicinal items, and not even Long HaoChen would interfere. Especially now that the commander level number 21 demon hunting squad was financially stable, Lin Xin was even more confident. In the end, this spiritual melody Snow Lotus was actually bought by Lin Xin at the low price of 350,000 gold coins, perhaps because the previous Dragon Crystal Frenzy had been too intense, resulting in the prices of the following items not being very high. Lin Xin made multiple moves in succession, successfully acquiring 3 herbs and a magical crystal from an 8th level magical beast. Next, we invite item number 7 to the stage. This item is also a rare and valuable treasure. It's not only valuable in itself, but also extremely rare. Among natural crystals with spiritual power, its value is absolutely top-notch. Even if you just buy a piece to take home and collect, it has great potential for appreciation. Our item number 7 is the finest of spatial crystals, the Silver Space Crystal. When they heard the 4 words, Silver Space Crystal, Wang Yuan suddenly sat up straight, her eyes eagerly scanning Lin Xin, and Lin Xin nodded to her, indicating that he understood. The card was lifted, the red cloth was lifted, and suddenly, the originally pitch-black auction hall lit up. It turned out to be a piece of ore the size of a human head. Yes, it's ore, not a crystal. This piece of silver space crystal had not been polished yet. It was still in its most primitive state, with many impurities attached to it, but it excelled in its large size, and the soft silver light gave it a mysterious and eerie feeling. The silver light shimmered. It was dazzling. It seemed like the entire auction hall's space was slightly distorting because of its appearance. The silver space crystal is known as solidified spatial spiritual power. Its purity of internal spiritual power can be seen. What's even more valuable is that the silver space crystal itself has a powerful ability to absorb spatial energy to compensate for its own consumption. That means, it can be used continuously. As long as it is cherished during use, it can accompany a strong spatial attribute user for a lifetime. A piece of silver space crystal, or this large, is extremely rare. The reason we haven't refined it into a crystal is that we're afraid it would damage its integrity. Whichever honored guest is fortunate enough to obtain it can completely carve it according to their own needs. Because this piece of silver space crystal, or is exceptionally large, its starting bid is 2 million gold coins. This starting bid is indeed not low, because no one knows if there are any structural cracks inside the silver space crystal, and if there are, it would greatly affect its value. But the rarer something is, the higher its value tends to be, and it's not unreasonable for the auction house to set the price. However, when this starting bid was announced, the entire hall fell into silence. Indeed, the silver space crystal is a valuable item, but there are not many professionals with spatial elemental powers. Even if there are using silver space crystal for crafting staves and equipment, at most, it can upgrade the equipment to radiant level. Of course, that's for small pieces of silver space crystal. But even if this entire ore is divided up and embedded into a single piece of equipment, it would only make it legendary grade at most. At most, it excels in containing a sufficient amount of spatial elemental power, has a long-lasting enhancement effect, and is more durable. So, with a starting bid of 2 million gold coins, not many people are interested in obtaining it. Yue Yang secretly thought. They set the price too high for this thing, didn't they? If they had set it at 1 million, it wouldn't have resulted in such a cold reception. It looks like it's going to go unsold. Is there any esteemed guest willing to make an offer? The silver space crystal is quite rare, you know. At this moment, Yuan was gripping Lin Xin's arm, almost shaking him apart. Bid quickly, wait, just a little longer. No matter how impatient Yuan was, Lin Xin at this moment was very composed, with a glint of wisdom in his eyes, and he wasn't in a hurry to speak. Yuan had already asked several times, but it still remained silent. She sighed inwardly. It seems that no one really needs this thing today. However, she had a graceful smile on her face. Since no esteemed guest seems interested in this treasure, I can only regretfully let it go unsold. But I believe there will always be someone who recognizes its value. Sigh. This last sigh gave people a feeling as if they wanted to hold and cherish her. Just then, Lin Xin finally made a move. He suddenly stood up from his seat, shouted loudly. For Miss Wei Yang, I bid 2 million gold coins. How can we let something that Miss Wei Yang is hosting go unsold? Wei Yang's eyes lit up, while some bidders in the audience were already chuckling. This kind of situation always happened in every VIP auction. Wei Yang's immense charm was not just for show, especially for those newcomers attending a VIP auction. She had an irresistible allure, and here we have another one falling for it. Very well, VIP number 36 bids 2 million gold coins. Thank you for your generous support of Miss Wei Yang, she said, and Wei Yang gracefully nodded to Lin Xin at the right moment. Is there any other esteemed guest willing to bid higher? 2 million gold coins once, twice sold. In the end, Lin Xin won the bid with a price of 2 million gold coins, and successfully acquired this large silver space crystal. Only then did Yuan breathe a sigh of relief, but her gaze towards Lin Xin still carried a hint of resentment, and she whispered in a low voice. Brother Medicinal Pills, did you intentionally tease me? Lin Xin glanced at her. If you don't understand, just stay quiet. We have money, but we're not foolishly rich. Bidding right from the start, without attracting competitors, that's a mistake. It's called strategy. Do you get it? Yuan, Lin Xin did the right thing. Long HaoChen whispered to Yuan, then gave Lin Xin a thumbs up. It must be said, in the business aspect, Lin Xin also had exceptional talent. The auction proceeded quickly, and Lin Xin made multiple bids in the subsequent auctions, targeting rare herbs and some particularly useful magic crystals and scrolls. However, he didn't spend much gold coins. He truly understood the essence of auctions. He could always find a bargain. Originally, there were a total of 36 items in this VIP auction, including the Demon Dragon's crystal. It became a total of 37 items. As time passed, they quickly reached the final auction item. Next, we have the final auction item for today, the grand finale of our VIP auction today. It's also our most precious item. Please welcome Miss Ling Xin. Just like when they auctioned the Demon Dragon's crystal, a golden beam of light descended from the sky, and Ling Xin, dressed in white, appeared before the crowd once again. However, this time, she didn't push a cart onto the stage, but instead held a long rectangular box in her hands covered with a red cloth. She walked slowly up to the auction stage. Even though it was covered in red velvet, you could still see the size of the box, a rectangular box about 4 feet and 5 inches long, and about a foot wide. It looked quite large. Although her figure was slender, the delicate Ling Xin held it as she walked up, giving people a pitiable impression. It is a sword that once bore the blood of countless demons. It forged an epic and magnificent legend. It once radiated with the divine light of holiness, but it chose to seal itself away after its master's fall. Wei Yang's voice was filled with sadness, echoing throughout the hall, and her face showed a trace of sorrow. There was no trace of pretense. It seemed her emotions were genuine. This is a sword of honor, a sword filled with glory and legend. The owner who entrusted this sword for auction had one important request. That is, bidders must be able to unseal it and pay 20 million gold coins. Otherwise, no matter how high the bid, it will not be sold. Wei Yang gave a somewhat melancholic smile and said, Speaking of this, I'm sure everyone can guess what our grand finale item is today. It's not the first time it's appeared here, but each time it went unsold due to the additional condition. As an auctioneer, and as an admirer of this divine sword, I truly hope we can find a destined owner for it today. If there is indeed an esteemed guest who can unseal it, then our auction house is willing to cover 1/3 of the cost as a sign of respect for the sword, as a tribute to the divine sword. Huh! Lin Xin exclaimed in a low voice. Fixed price auction? Long HaoChen said. What is a fixed price auction? Lin Xin explained. This is an extremely rare auction format, where the price of the auction item is fixed. In other words, anyone who offers this price can purchase it, but the catch is, this type of auction comes with additional conditions, and only bidders who meet these conditions are eligible to participate in the auction. And the auction items accepted by the Holy Alliance auction house at a fixed price are definitely exceptional. I believe that this sword is at least of legendary caliber, and perhaps even more. While they were talking on the stage, Wei Yang had already lifted a red cloth, revealing an antique wooden box. The wooden box was in shades of reddish-brown, with minimal decorative patterns on it, adorned only with bronze edges, emanating an age-old, rustic aura, indicating that it had a long history. The auction hall has now quieted down. It seems many of the VIPs are familiar with this auction item, and the atmosphere appears somewhat subdued. Niece Wei Yang, how about letting me buy it? Although I can't yet lift its seal, I will do my utmost to restore this divine sword's radiance once I own it. How about that? The speaker is the bidder with the deep voice in VIP room number 3. Wei Yang sadly shook his head. I understand your intentions, but I must see it shine here. It's my grandfather's wish. Wei Yang won't hide it anymore. The seller of this sword is actually me. This divine sword was used by my great-great-grandfather, and even my ancestral predecessor once wielded it. When my grandfather was on his deathbed, his greatest wish was to break the seal on this divine sword and let its radiance shine once again upon the world, preferably by quenching it with the blood of demons, so as to live up to the sword's glory. Any VIP with the ability, please come forward and give it a try. The prerequisite is to be a practitioner of the light element. As long as you can unseal it, even if it's through installments, I will accept it. As he spoke, Wei Yang turned around, slowly opening the wooden box. Gloomy, solemn, mournful, and deathly silent. When that heavy sword presented itself in the wooden box to everyone's eyes, Long HaoChen actually felt the emergence of these 4 negative emotions. It was a completely dark heavy sword, with a very ancient and elegant design, the entire sword measuring about 4 feet and 2 inches. With the hilt being 1 foot and 2 inches, and the blade 3 feet long. The blade is as wide as 4 fingers. The hilt and the blade are seamlessly integrated, as if crafted from a special metal, but the most peculiar thing is, the blade is thick and edgeless. It bears faint, intricate, and needed cloud-like patterns. The tip of the sword is not sharp, but instead, there is a black bead. There is no overwhelming aura emanating from it, only a deep sense of antiquity. But everyone can sense the depth within this gloomy, solemn atmosphere, the profound essence contained within this heavy sword. No one steps forward, but everyone remains silent, out of respect for this divine sword. The complete silence in the room makes the atmosphere even more oppressive. Those who should have tried have already done so. There was a 9th rank knight who came here in the past, attempting to restore its radiance. However, that 9th rank knight failed. Even a 9th rank knight couldn't bring back the radiance of this divine sword, so who else would be willing to step up and make a spectacle of themselves? The sorrow in Wei Yang's eyes deepened, and with a faint sigh, she slowly closed the wooden box. I'm deeply sorry for making everyone feel melancholic because of Wei Yang, but I believe someday it will find its new owner. The auction for today ends here, and Wei Yang apologizes to all the esteemed guests once again. Wait a moment. At that moment, a clear voice suddenly spoke, and a person rose slowly from the front row. Miss Wei Yang, may I inquire about the name of this divine sword? The clear voice inquired slowly. Wei Yang shook her head. I'm sorry, this guest, my grandfather once said, unless this divine sword regains its radiance, we must not mention its former name. She could tell, the person's voice was youthful, thinking that they were just curious about the divine sword. Longhaochen had already turned around, ready to carry the mysterious heavy sword away. The bidders at the VIP auction were also getting up to leave one by one. The only ones who didn't move were the members of Commander Level Number 21 Demon Hunting Squad, because the one who stood up with a question was none other than their captain, Long HaoChen. I am willing to give it a try. Long HaoChen's clear voice once again echoed in the auction hall. The entire hall fell silent for a second. Then, amidst the commotion, the voice of Long HaoChen, who had become the center of attention, resounded. The most echoed phrase in the room was, "Ignorance is bliss." A hint of astonishment appeared on Wei Yang's pretty face, and she looked somewhat stunned at the masked young man, but due to professional habits, she concealed her emotions well, managing to force a faint smile. Very well, please proceed, dear guest. However, could you first demonstrate your attribute? Certainly. Long HaoChen responded calmly. Close your eyes. He addressed the words. Close your eyes. To his companions behind him. Immediately after, a brilliant radiance suddenly erupted from behind Long HaoChen. In that instant, the entire grand auction hall was brilliantly illuminated. A wave of exclamations nearly lifted the roof of the auction hall. The golden light in that moment was truly blinding, and the strong aura of light dispelled the previous gloominess in the entire venue. However, because the golden light was so intense, many in the back rows experienced momentary blindness. Fortunately, the golden light faded quickly. Almost no one could see how that golden light was emitted. Wei Yang and Ling'er also couldn't see it clearly. At the moment when the radiant golden light burst forth, both of them instinctively closed their eyes. Only the members of Commander Level Number 21 Demon Hunting Squad felt the spiritual wings released by Long HaoChen. Even under the sun, Long HaoChen's 4 wings emitted a dazzling golden light, not to mention in this dark place, which is why Long HaoChen asked his companions to close their eyes. At the same time, the release of this golden light silenced the skeptics. Wei Yang's eyes showed strong astonishment, and deep within her eyes there was a sense of awe. Her own attribute was also light, and because of that, her understanding of light was profound. Just a moment ago, she distinctly felt the strong radiance released by Long HaoChen. Although she didn't see how Long HaoChen released the brilliant golden light, based on her judgment, this should at least be achievable by a 7th-rank temple knight. And it's very likely that it required invoking the light divine body to condense light attribute spiritual power to such a degree. However, in just that moment, he was able to release the light divine body. Moreover, judging by his voice, he sounded like a young man. At such a young age, could he really possess formidable 7th-rank strength? It seemed impossible, unless he had altered his own voice. And he was actually much older. Long HaoChen had now slowly walked up to the auction platform, and those bidders who had been prepared to leave all stopped in their tracks. They were still recovering from the golden light emitted from Long HaoChen's 4 wings, slowly ascending the auction platform. Long HaoChen's gaze also became focused, as he looked at the closed wooden box and asked, "May I begin?" Yang asked instinctively. "May I ask about your age?" Long HaoChen unequivocally refused. "That's unnecessary." Yang was momentarily taken aback, as she was not accustomed to people refusing her. She didn't become the chief auctioneer of the Holy Alliance Grand Auction by mere luck. She herself was a professional with dual attributes of spirit and light. In terms of talent, she believed she could have become a demon huntress with ease. She also had full confidence. "I apologize, you may begin," Yang said in a low voice, while taking a step back. Long HaoChen slowly opened the wooden box, and his gaze fell upon the heavy sword inside. Both of his hands reached into the box simultaneously. Seeing this gesture, Yang visibly relaxed a bit. Long HaoChen's movements appeared simple, but they conveyed respect for a weapon. Such respect could only be given to divine weapons. His left hand held the sword's tip with 4 fingers, and his thumb held the black bead on the tip. For an ordinary heavy sword, this gesture would involve gripping the entire blade tip, preventing it from being sharp. His right hand was placed near the sword's guard, not on the hilt. This detail may seem simple, but it was specific to knights. Only true knights understood how to show respect to a divine weapon, so when Yang saw Long HaoChen do this, she held some hope in her heart. Could this person truly bring the divine sword back to its former glory? If that were the case. At this point, Yang couldn't help but recall what her grandfather had said. Obtaining a divine weapon didn't necessarily require being a top-tier expert, but rather, it was more likely destined for someone with a special connection to the divine weapon. Could he be that chosen one? For some reason, Yang's heart was pounding, as she had a subtle feeling that this might be the case. Fengling, holding the wooden box, became even more curious when Long HaoChen's hands reached inside. She was indeed very curious about the young man before her, who appeared to be quite young both in voice and stature. However, her gaze was simply filled with curiosity. Compared to her calm and pure appearance, as pure as a white flower, she actually possesses a passionate heart. Long HaoChen, standing at 1.8 meters tall, appears to be a rather ordinary young man and doesn't pique her interest much, nor is he her preferred type. In contrast, someone like Yang, who looks charming and alluring, exudes a mature charm, but deep down, she is quite conservative. This is what they mean when they say appearances can be deceiving. Despite the observations of Yang and Fengling, Long HaoChen seems oblivious to them, as his gaze remains fixed on the divine sword before him. The moment the wooden box was opened earlier, Long HaoChen felt its aura, and his spirit was completely captivated by this divine weapon. His connection to it is much stronger than anyone else's, and he can even sense many changes within the divine sword. This divine sword is more than just sealed. In a way, it has already died. How can a weapon die? When a true divine weapon loses its soul, it can be said to have died. Long HaoChen can be certain that this divine sword once had a unique sword spirit of its own. Sword spirits are a type of spiritual beings related to artifacts. What does having a sword spirit imply? It implies that this weapon is at least of epic level strength or higher. In other words, the divine sword before Long HaoChen was once an epic level equipment a long time ago. However, now, it has lost its own soul, but precisely because of that, Long HaoChen respects it even more. He can speculate that, when the previous owner of this divine sword passed away, the sword spirit sealed the sword then abandoned its own physical form, leaving only this empty vessel in the world, while the sword spirit followed its master into the afterlife. The fact that the sword spirit chose to accompany its master in death indicates the extraordinary nature of its previous owner. Such a person and such a sword spirit, how could they not be revered? Long HaoChen's heart is far from calm at this moment. His movements are deliberate and slow, as if he fears disrespecting this divine sword. He steps forward, not with the intention of acquiring the divine sword, but to help it break free from its seal. Just as Yang said, divine swords should not gather dust, they should radiate with brilliance. This pitch-black heavy sword slowly lifts from the wooden box under Long HaoChen's hands. Long HaoChen's gaze remains fixated on the sword's blade, and he does not infuse it with any spiritual power, but merely watches it in silence. His eyes are calm, yet filled with a touch of melancholy, even though his face is concealed behind a mask. Yang can still sense the emotions emanating from Long HaoChen. His clear golden eyes are beyond the mask's concealment, Observing the expression in his eyes, Yuan even feels that his emotions are harmonizing with the melancholy emitted by the divine sword. Yang's heart begins to beat faster. Before Long HaoChen appeared, everyone who saw the divine sword nearly rushed to infuse it with their spiritual power, as if trying to conquer it or forcibly break its seal. However, they all failed. Yet, Long HaoChen doesn't do the same. Instead, he seems to be communicating with the divine sword. Fengling puts away the wooden box and stands aside, her curiosity intensifying. She steals a glance at Yuan, who is staring blankly at the man in front of her, her eyes fixed without blinking. Time seems to stand still, and the bidders who have regained their vision quietly return to their seats, silently observing Long HaoChen. They are all filled with curiosity, wondering if this man can unlock the seal on the divine sword. The sudden release of the light attribute earlier startled many. The more people know about the light attribute, the more awed they are by the outburst just now. Yating, Long HaoChen softly calls out. What's even more astonishing is that, in a flash of golden light, a golden figure suddenly appears before Long HaoChen. Though Yating has concealed her 6 wings for now, her sudden appearance, along with her radiant golden aura and beauty, carries an aura that leaves the entire audience in awe. Even Yuan and Fengling lose their luster in comparison to the gentle and pure light elements emanating from her. Long HaoChen carefully hands the heavy sword to Yating. Yating can feel his intention, and she quickly reaches out to take it, following the same procedure Long HaoChen used earlier. This is... Suddenly, Yuan covers her mouth. With her strong willpower, even she can't contain her inner astonishment. Yating is facing Long HaoChen, meaning she is facing the audience. Therefore, only Yuan and Fengling can see her back. They clearly see the 6 wings concealed behind Yating. They can feel the pure light elements emanating directly from her. Is this perhaps a light elemental elf? Yang's amazement knows no bounds. Her knowledge is vast, and she is well versed in light elemental elves. However, in her understanding, she has never heard of light elemental elves evolving into beings almost indistinguishable from humans. Yating takes the heavy sword, and as the heavy sword falls into her hands, the blade emits a faint hum. The hum is not loud, but it sounds like a clear dragon's roar, echoing throughout the entire auction hall. Yating is also taken aback, as she clearly senses that when she grips the heavy sword, she actually feels a sense of familiarity. It's as if the heavy sword is somewhat reliant on her. Long HaoChen takes a step back, clenches his right fist, taps it against his chest, and performs a standard knight's salute toward the heavy sword in Yating's hands. A divine sword should not gather dust. I can sense your sadness and pain. However, the past is in the past. If your master is still alive, he would never want to see your sword's spirit follow him, and your radiance continue to be concealed. From the day you possess spirituality, you should have been held by a knight, using your edge to cut through thorns and thistles, to eradicate evil, and to fight for justice. To fight for all those in need of protection. Your light will shine once more in this world, and your edge will strike terror into the hearts of your foes. Come back, lost divine sword, let your radiance illuminate the earth once more, and let the power of light dispel all darkness. Perhaps I am unworthy to be your master, but I am willing to awaken you, and allow you to find the most suitable master for you. Long HaoChen's words, full of passion, are also filled with solemnity and pride. In his youthful voice, there is a resolute tone of steel, even a faint hint of bloodthirstiness, and strong pride is evident in his simple words. Yating kneels on one knee, holding the heavy sword up in front of Long HaoChen. This time, Long HaoChen doesn't take it with both hands, but extends his right hand, firmly gripping the hilt of the heavy sword. An indescribable aura envelopes Long HaoChen, and he suddenly raises the heavy sword high above his head. Then, a dazzling white blaze erupts from his hands, instantly flowing into the heavy sword. The radiant light that bursts forth from him is even more brilliant and pure than before, and it's visible even to Fengling and Yuan, who are only a few feet away. Under the mask on Long HaoChen's face, on his forehead, a brilliant golden light shines, and faintly discernible, it appears to be 9 distinct light patterns,